Welcome to my top 100 board games so far. Yes, I don't say of all time because things change. But welcome nevertheless. Some of you know me from Star Trek Darkwing and the Shipyard. For those of you who don't, you may remember me from a little blog I wrote for called Bits of Board Games. And for those of you who don't recognize either of those, welcome anyways. So, I know you're going, another top 100. Doesn't the Dice Tower kind of have a monopoly on those, cover that? Yeah, they do. But here's the thing. I play a fair amount of board games. I've got 3,300 lifetime plays, about 500, 600 plays a year, and a pretty good variety of board games on my list. And I think that I have something to say. So that's why this video exists, and I hope that it will be of interest to you guys. I'm going to break it down into segments of 10 games, just so no segment is super duper long. And yeah, so let's get started. Number 100, Eminent Domain. This is a space deck builder that used to be a lot higher on my list. I think it peaked at number 5. But it's still really interesting. They've done a couple of expansions for it. It's taken it in some good directions. The reason it's dropped for me is I just don't get to play it that much. And that's a matter of the group that I have and our tastes. But it's still a really interesting game, and I like it, and it made the cut for number 100. Number 99, Colossal Arena. This is an older game, and a lot of people probably haven't heard about it. But it's a game where you have creatures competing in battle, and you play cards until every creature has a card on it, and one creature has the lowest. And when that happens, that creature is eliminated from the round. And creatures have special powers. You bid on creatures. The earlier in a round you bid on them, the more points you get at the end of the game. And all of that works really well. I think it's a really interesting game. And it's one of the few 3-player games that works well. So, yeah, if you haven't checked it out, it's worth checking out. It's definitely on the theme side of things, so take that for what it is. Number 98 is Kodama. Now, this is a newer game. It's a friend that my buddy got from Kickstarter. And you're placing cards to build a tree. But there's kind of set collection in doing so. You get points. And then there's cards that will change from game to game that give you points in different ways. And I like that changing aspect of things. You have hidden victory conditions. Those give you points in different ways. People don't know exactly what you're going for. Some restrictions exist face up, and that makes it a very dynamic game. No two games are the same, and for that reason, Kodama is on the list, and a game that I think more people need to check out. Alright, number 97 is Hugh. This is a game in the Paco Games series from Chris Handy, and very short filler game. Plays in like 10-15 minutes. Works with like 20 cards, 25 cards, something like that. Color matching, make the biggest area you possibly can. You're playing all your cards except one, and whatever card you don't play is your scoring card. So you can change tactics mid-game and go a different direction if you don't like where your scorecard's headed or what you thought was your scorecard. You can go a different route, and I like that flexibility. I think there's a ton there, and there's poison cards that will make an area worth 0, and that can really mess with the game. Another game that works well at 3 all the way up to 5, and I like it. Number 96, an older game again, Mystery of the Abbey. Now this is a deduction game, and I like to call this Clue on steroids. I grew up playing a lot of Clue, and for me, to get a deduction game that takes some of the luck out of Clue and replaces it with a lot more strategy tactics, that's a good thing. Mystery of the Abbey still has luck, it still has silliness. Don't get me started on chanting and all the other zany stuff that can happen in this game. But besides that, there is a lot going on in Mystery of the Abbey. You are trying to figure out what monk is missing from a set of like 26 or 28. It's crazy. You're not going to blind guess. You're not going to get a turn 1, oh, I got it, I know who it is. And that's a great improvement on the game. So, Days of Wonder came out with a sequel game called Mystery Express, and that takes place on the Orient Express. I like that game. It's a little easier to play, a little faster to play. It's in my like 120, 130 range, so not quite the top 100, but a game still worth mentioning. Number 95, Nothing Personal. Now, this is a game that you really have to go in and say, hey, look, it is nothing personal. You are going to backstab each other. You are going to kill somebody, not literally, kill somebody's character, put them in jail, mess with their plans. And they're going to mess with yours. And all of that works really well. It's this give and take and this mess of you don't know what's going to happen. And then you get a total board clear and everything resets. And this peon that had like no power is now all of a sudden in charge. And it's like, wow, where did that move come from? And this game just completely changed. I love that fact. And other turns, it's like, one little change. One little change. Big plays, small plays, doesn't matter. Nothing personal. Great social negotiation game. Great game for backstabbing. And you just have to have a good attitude and be willing to laugh it off at the end of the day. Number 94, Transamerica, with the caveat that you're playing, or at least have access to Vexation. And I say that because Vexation adds the ability to lay track of just your color. If you play Transamerica, where everybody just has the common track, it becomes a very simple game. It's kind of luck of who gets what cities, who can make their connections happen, who connects to the main route when, and from that, it's okay. But when you factor in tracks of one color, especially with like 5 or 6 people, the game gets insane and strategic and very specific about when you make your move, when you lay those colored tracks. And the better you do that, the better you perform in Transamerica. So I like it. There's train games I like more. We'll see those later. But Transamerica on my list. Number 93 is another newish game, Mafia de Cuba. Now, this is more of a party game. Better with bigger groups. Tried it with like 5, 6 people. Does not work. Essentially, it's a role selection game where everything is hidden in a box, and one person's in charge and they're trying to recoup their diamonds. People are taking diamonds or taking a roll. And everyone knows pieces of info. You know what you got, you know what you took, you know what you passed. And you're going to lie, you're going to tell the truth. That works for some people, that doesn't work for other people. And it kind of becomes a game of how well do you lie, and that works better for some people than others. So this is a game that I'm not sure how long it's going to last on my list, but I like it. I've enjoyed playing it. I want to play more of it, but it's a game that I have to play with the right group of people. Alright, number 92, Mysterium. Now, Mysterium takes a game that's a little further up on my list, Dixit, and makes it co-op. Now, when I first heard about Mysterium, I'm like, that's intriguing. I want to see it in action before I truly judge it. And the reality is I saw it in action and I like it. I think it's a reasonably good game. I take some issues with some of the extra mechanics that the American version added in terms of, once you finish your path, then you have to determine the whole set. But for the most part, this game is about figuring out the clues that the ghost gives you and connecting the dots between your clues and the center and making it work. Sometimes you're going to be successful, sometimes you're going to completely miss the mark 4 turns in a row and completely give the death look to the ghost and go, really? Come on. Like, I'm coming for you. I know you're a ghost, but you're not dead enough. I've been the ghost more often than not, and I've had plenty of those looks, so I know what I'm speaking of. It's a tough job. Mysterium's a lot of fun, though, and if you don't worry about the final rules, I think the game works perfectly fine, and it's a really good co-op experience, and if you take it for that, then it's perfectly fine. Alright, number 91, and the last one for this video, is Tokaido. Now this is a game that I've only played a couple of times, but I really like what's there. The path, the journey that you take is so intriguing. It's a matter of maximizing your actions, but you also have to decide when to rush and get what you really need, because once somebody goes somewhere, you're never getting it again. I like the mechanic where whoever's in the back gets to go, and it's a tough balance of trying to do certain things well, not do everything, but do enough to get points where you need it, and spread yourself out enough, but not too thin. And yeah, I think Tokaido is a game that's going to stay on this list, maybe get a little bit better, and this is all just with the base game, so I can only imagine what the expansions will do for it. And I like Tokaido. I think it's a solid game, and that's why it's here. Alright, thank you guys for watching the first video in my top 100, and I hope you all come back next time to see 90 through 81. Thank you all, and until next time, we'll see you around the shipyard. Bye, guys.